Hello everyone. So today we are here to discuss around one of the Microsoft's leading AI tool, that is Azure AI Document Intelligence. Right. So document intelligence basically deals with some predefined machine learned models which Microsoft provides as a service which you can utilize and use into your applications and reap the results out of it. Right, so as Microsoft says, it is an AI service that applies advanced machine learning to extract text, key value pairs, tables, and structures from documents automatically. Right, so in a layman language, it is just a service with some predefined models that you can consume, and you can get your results out of those models without doing much of configuration on the AI side. Right, so compared to the other methods in which we have to set up a whole infrastructure, just using this service for some of the applications is really very helpful and very fast to get the data set up. Okay, so without wasting much of the time, let's get on to the hands-on and see what models we have, and specifically concentrate on the pre-built read model. What does it provide you, how you can use it, what are the different ways of using it. Right, so let's get to it. So first of all, you need to have your Azure instance setup, right? You need to have your subscription, your resource group, and under the resource group, if you'll see, so I have a document intelligence service created, right? So to set up a new service, all you need to do is go on create, right? Just mention here document intelligence. So for some of you who are new, document intelligence was earlier known as a form recognizer, right? So in some old instances you might see a naming convention with FR. So form recognizer was nothing but document intelligence, right? So we'll just come up here. So this is the first tile that we have. Just click on create a document intelligence service, right? So it'll ask you your subscription, your resource group, a region which you can select on basis of your preference, then a name. So suppose if I'll say DI, that is document intelligence test service, and then you can just come in here and you can select a pricing tag. So the free pricing tier, so there are like two pricing tiers if you're doing it for research purpose. So you can try a free pricing tier, right? So that is basically you don't have to pay anything for that. So I have a service already set up with it. And the second one is a standard SO plan, right? So the difference is on the number of calls per minute using the API, right? So you can select the appropriate plan. So I'm not going to create it right away here, right? So after doing this, you can set up your network configuration if you need to close it, like keep it open, disabled for public access and all that. And finally you can review it and you can create your service. So there is not, you know, much of configuration needed while you have to create it, just some basic parameters and you can get your service set up, right? So once you do that, you get your service like this. So that is DI tutorials instance. So let me open it up. Okay, so let's go through what we get here. So you get your resource group name, right? So this is a form recognizer, so still Microsoft calls it as a form recognizer, right? So then the status is active, the your location. So now this is my subscription which I was mentioning, so that is a free trial. So I've created one under the free trial. My pricing trial is free, and then this is the endpoint we need to be uh, you know taking note of, so that we can use it later on in our demo purposes while creating the API calls and doing all that. Then this is your subscription ID, and if you'll get add any tags like project name or something, you can get it here, right? And then you have your keys and endpoints to make the API calls using the API keys. Apart from this, you have your activity log, access control, the general Azure methods like the Azure options you get there. Then you have your keys and endpoints, encryption, pricing tag, networking, identity, cost analysis. All these things are there. And then you have your security, which is the defender if you want to add. So these all comes in as the advanced features. We can talk later in another video for these, right? So now what we need to first look at is this document intelligence studio. So what exactly is document intelligence studio? So what Microsoft did is to test out these services, right? So it's very interesting, it's very intuitive. So they created a whole interface where you can go in and test out using your documents that what are the results, how the models are working out, right? So similar to the Azure AI Studio, they have this Document Intelligence Studio. Let me just click on this, and the URL changes to documentintelligence.ai.azure.com/studio. So this is your Document Intelligence Studio URL, and once it will come up, we'll see what exactly we get there. So this is Document Intelligence Studio. It gives you the whole buffet of models that are available, right? So now let's quickly go through what are the models that we have, and what are we going to cover in this video, and all of those things, right? So the models are defined into three categories. The first one is document analysis, the second one is the pre-built models, and the third one is your custom models, right? So document analysis models are also pre-built models. So under document analysis, we have read, layout, and general documents, right? So read model, which we'll be going thoroughly in this video itself, that model talks about extracting general text, paragraphs, parameters, handwritten documents, and all those informations from a specific fed-in document. So layout model talks about extracting much complex data compared to the read model, right? So like extracting tables, the checkbox information, text information, then the document markdown. So all detailed information that will be coming, like covering in the coming up videos. Then the general document model that extracts your key value pairs, your selection markers, and all those things. Right? Then next comes the pre-built models. So these models are a little, trained and created from the US perspective. So people using these in the US based projects and US based application might find it more helpful, like having an invoice model, a receipt model, identity document model, a US tax model. So all these models, what you need to do is just bring in your documents. Like suppose if you have a UX tax 1040 document and you want to process all those docs, all those documents, all those tax forms at once, so you can just add those tax forms within this particular document, within this particular document model, and it will automatically process those. So like that, all these models are pre-built, pre-created to accept that specific format of documents and do operations on basis of that. And then finally, we have the custom models, so custom extraction models and custom classification models. So these models are configurable. You can train them, configure them, and use them for your specific purpose. And those models will be specifically tailor-made for that operation. Right? So this is the buffet of services that we have. Now let's get started and cover up the first service. Right? So that is the read model. So read model is the first document analysis model and the most simplest one, if you'll see, right? So what this model talks about is, so let me just go into the description of this particular model, right? So this model basically, as it says, runs OCR, right? And it gets the data out of that particular document. So what it will do is it will help you to fetch the text information, it will help you to fetch the paragraph information, it will help you to fetch what languages are available in the documents. So all the textual and document perspective things that you want to do, basically whenever we say that, okay, I'm reading a document. So all the things that I can process while reading a document, that can be done using your read model, right? So that's what it says. And couple of things that we need to take care of. So your read model, it takes in the PDFs, images, and Microsoft Office documents as the inputs. So we are good there, we are good to go and utilize them, right? Then these are the things that you can do, right? So data extraction, you get your pages. So we'll see how we get those, how we get that collection. Then you get in under each page, you get your paragraphs, you get your text lines and words, and then you get your handwritten documents. Yes, your handwritten documents can be converted into digital documents using this model, and like that we get all those things, right? So let's see how it actually works out. So first let's go to the graphical interface of it, right? So I'll just click on this, try it out. Select, let's wait for that. Yeah, so this is the interface that comes up. So it says that you are using your read model, this is the API version, right? And this is the service resource that you are using, your document intelligence resource. So you have a list of sample documents here which are provided by Microsoft. Some of them are drawings, some of them are barcodes, invoice, a German document, and things like that, right? So let's do one thing. Let's select a German document, And then here what we have is we can run the analysis. We have the analysis options that I want to run it on current document, all pages, optional detection. Okay, I want to detect barcodes and languages. Just click it on save, and then we have the premium detection. So this will be on basis of your pricing. If you want to detect your style fonts, your formulas, a high resolution image, so you can do that. Okay, and then here you'll get your content after the analysis, your result, and if you need to implement that as a code, so the code base of that, right? So you can get it in Python, JavaScript, or C#. So let's go ahead and click on run analysis. So it will take some time, it will process it, it will go through that thing. So now what you get is you get a whole document and the highlighted sections of it, right? So what it has done, it has processed the document, it has converted it into different bits. So now each bit is basically a paragraph here. So what we mean by that, it's a paragraph is, so let's look at here. Under the text, you can see that I'm getting different paragraph objects. So now once I'll process this as a code piece or as an API call, so under my paragraph collection, I'll get all this text that I need, right? So I'll know that what information is there within this particular document. Then if there was a barcode, so if I'll just click here, so I don't have a barcode right now, so what we can do is, let me come here and I'll run an analysis on this. So let's see the difference here, right? So now it has recognized a barcode as well, so you can see it's highlighted. So along with the paragraph information, I have the barcode information as well and the QR code information. So it says that there is a UPCA sort of barcode, and then there is QR code. Similarly, we can get the language information and we can get all those details using this model, which we are going to see next, right? So before going there, let's look at the result tab. So this is a JSON of how the result comes up, right? So it gives you a confidence score, it gives you the page number, the unit, the type of content, and all those things, right? Then the code, as I mentioned, so this is a sample code of how you can utilize this model. So it uses a document analysis client, but with the latest version of what is published from Microsoft on GitHub. So you can modify it, and we'll see how we modify it for a document intelligence client rather than using just a document analysis client, right? So this is the main overview of it, that this is the code that you can utilize, these are the different things that you can do. And if I'll just add a handwritten document maybe, right? So this is a handwritten document which I had scanned. So suppose you have a scenario where you have multiple handwritten documents and you want to convert those into digital documents. So you run an analysis on it and it will identify what is written and give you a text output of that. So let's wait for a few minutes, and yeah, here we have it. So this is the first paragraph and this is the second paragraph. So it automatically identified where was the line break, where was that, there was a new paragraph, and it returns you that. So now this is just a visual representation of how it does it or how it returns the results out of it, right? So but how do we actually utilize it within our application? So for that, one thing is, if you're doing it on a code based thing, on a application that utilizes code, so you can do, what you can do is you can set up your Python environment, right? So like I'm using a Anaconda Cloud version of it, so it's a freeware where you can use the Jupyter notebooks online. So I have just imported the Python code in this. So now this is my code which I'm going to utilize. Now this code you can find it on the Microsoft articles as well. So the basic code would be available, but you'll have to always alter it according to your application. So what you can see here is we have the standard imports that are available in few methods which are used to get the word counts, get the bounding boxes, and then this is the main method where I'm using a sample document that is uploaded on GitHub, right? Then this is what I was talking about. So now instead of the document analysis client, we have created a document intelligence client, right? So that's using the latest version of the API that we have. Then what we are doing here is we are creating an object of it. So we are analyzing the document. The model that we are using is prebuilt-read model. Then under the analyze document request, you are using the form URL, that is the URL of the document, the PDF document. Now, some people might ask that, okay, I don't have a direct URL to the PDF document. I have the document in a bytes array or something like that. So yes, that is doable. We can modify it and make it, reusable to use it with the bytes array instead of a direct document URL. Then here what we are using is we are using an additional features to identify the languages. Right. So once we do this, we get a output collection, right? So that's the result collection, and we'll be printing that. I'll be showing you how that collection comes up, and then under the results we'll get all the languages that are used in this particular document. Then under that, what we'll see is what are the different pages in the document, how many pages are there in the document, what is the measured unit of the pages, what are the different lines in the pages, what are the different words in the pages, and then all the paragraphs that are part of this particular result document, right? So let's go ahead and execute it. Okay, so we'll click on this particular icon and let's execute it. It will take some time. Yep. So now these are the results that we are getting, right? So as I mentioned, first thing which we are fetching out is the overall results collection, right? So we can see this is the sort of JSON that we are getting out. So once we'll be seeing the response from API, we will be able to say the same thing. So it provides you the API version, the model ID, and all different sorts of things, right? So if you'll see, it will have the content information, then somewhere it will have the words array, then it will have your polygons, your confidence scores, your paragraph arrays, your language arrays, and everything within this one single collection, right? So this basically becomes your single source of truth for the data that is extracted out of the document, and then you can traverse through that particular data, you can traverse through this particular JSON as a collection and do all sorts of stuff, build different applications around it. So what we did is, like in this simple code base, so first thing is we were detecting the languages, so we use the results.languages collection. So we were detecting the languages, and using those language collection, I was getting each language and printing out the language code and the confidence score of it, right? So after this results, right, so let's do one thing, let's simplify the output and remove this thing. Okay, so for simplifying the output, I have removed this thing for now, right? And I'll re-execute it. So now we can see that first thing that I'm getting is all the languages with the language code and the confidence scores of it, right? So you'll be able to see how much confident the model is, that it has identified the language properly, what are the different languages that are available. Then the next thing is I'm getting into the pages, right? So for each page under the pages collection, what I'm doing is I'm getting the page width, getting the page height, the unit in which the height and width are measured, then what are the different lines in each page, right? And for each line, what are the different words using the get words function, right? And then it will say that, okay, this is the line number, this has this many words and the text is this, right? And then for each word it will print what is the word and what is the confidence score that it has corrected the word properly, right? Then finally the paragraphs collection with how many different paragraphs are there and their content. So let's see the output. So the first thing is page 1. So it has a width and height of 8.5 into 11 measured into inches. Then it has line 0, line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5. Line 1 has 2 words, line 1 has 4 words. First line was line 0, so that was 2 words. And line 2 has 3 words, like that it goes on and on and on, right? And like this it will do for the second page, the third page, and the number of pages in your document. It will go on and keep on doing it for the whole document for you, right? Then the second thing is paragraphs. So it has found different paragraphs on page number 1, then on page number 2, like that it will show you that which paragraph is on which page number, what is the bounding box of it, right, and what is the content of it. So like this we get all the information, we get all the details into the collection, and all we have to do is just traverse and utilize it, right? So this is the simple code base that we have. Now depending upon the different requirements that you have, depending upon the different scenarios, you can modify this code, right? So if your model works fine, you're getting all the responses. You can maybe directly use the content and generate a new document out of it, you know, get the page information and get specific content out of that page, get specific paragraphs out of that page, and just print the content out of that into a new document. So like that, all the text traversing functions, right? So that can be taken care of using this document itself, right? So using this model itself. So this is one way of using it directly through your code. If you have a code-based application, like suppose if you are using maybe a Composer SDK, about Composer SDK, where you want to send in your document and get the responses in a bot. So you can do that. You can use your application, do like using Python or maybe a different language, and get this collection and the results out of it. Right? So next up is using it as an API. So let's get started and let's look at it how we can utilize it as an API or as a REST API call instead of using it in a code base. Right. So if you want to consume it as an API, so this is the postman that you need to do, right? So this will be your URL and we can get it on the Microsoft site. Let me show it right there, right? So you can get these details here. So this will be your URL. These will be your URL parameters that will go into the path, your model ID, right? So that will be your pre-built-read model, your endpoint that comes in from the document intelligence endpoint, right? The next is the features. So if you are using a language feature, you need to list it down. If you are using any specific output format, any specific pages you want to target, so all that thing, right, all that information goes into the URL parameters. Then your request body contains the URL of the source, so your document URL goes into the request body, and then you get your response on basis of that. One thing you need to take care of it, just add this API key parameter within your header, right, with your appropriate key from the document intelligence service, so that your request could authenticate, right? So once you do that, once you make that API call, so you'll get this output. So this is the JSON file that you'll be getting out of it, right? So this file basically has your API version you are using, your model ID, right, your index type, and all the page number wise content information. So this is your pages collection. So now this correlates with what we saw earlier, right? So this is your pages collection. Under that you have all different pages. Now for each page you have the content information, you have the bounding box information, you have the offset information. So you have all that information available for all the different pages, right? So if I'll just scroll down quickly, right? Or let's do one thing. Let's do right. So after the pages, you get your paragraphs information, all the bounding regions, what are the page numbers, what is the content of each paragraph. So you will have that in your JSON. Then if you have added languages, you'll get your languages, you'll get your styles if you have added. So like this, you'll get all the parent collections, and then you can go in and use these collections right away into your solution, right? So these are three different ways of using it. So what we have seen is, if you want to do a recap, first of all, document intelligence, it has a whole buffet of models, right? Second, to test it out if it suits your scenario, use the document intelligence studio, use this correct model. Like in our case, we utilize the read model, upload your document and see if it is able to fetch the results. Then if you are using it under a Python application, you can simply create a document intelligence client, use the begin analyze document URL, right? So document function, and put in your model name, send in your document, it will return you the results collections, and then you can use those collections, traverse those collections to get your responses. And the third way is using the API. You get the JSON in the similar way like you're doing it for the code, and you are able to get all that information from the JSON and fetch it into your code and get that particular thing done, right? So now this was all about the read model, and I hope I helped you, with some information around it to make it a little clear. In case you have any queries, please make sure to post them out. I'll look into it and I'll help get those answered, right? So next we'll have a look at the layout model, which is a little more interesting. We'll do some stuff around it, and then yeah, we'll proceed ahead and cover up the other models after that. Thank you. Have a nice day.